So, Mr. Wright, today we're going to go over how to solve for missing sides in similar figures. So in order to do that, we first have to know how to solve proportions. So a proportion is when you have two ratios that are equal to each other, so like two fractions that are equal, we call that a proportion. So I think the easiest way to solve for this is cross multiply and then solve for x. So when you cross multiply a proportion, those two things are going to be equal to each other. So when I cross multiply, I always like to do the one with the x first. So I'm going to do 3 times x is 3x, and then 9 times 2 is 18. Those cross products are equal to one another. So you do 3x equals 18. We now have an equation, and this is an easy equation to solve because all we have to do is divide by 3. So x equals 6. So to solve a proportion, just cross multiply and solve for x. So this next one, again, I like to do the one with the x first because I like x on the left. So 2x equals 100. If I multiply, divide by 2, x equals 50. This one a little bit more difficult, but we're still going to cross multiply. So what I like to do with this one, I know I have to do 4 times x minus 2. So what you're actually doing though is you have to make sure you multiply both of those terms by 4. So I'm actually going to write it out, and I'm going to put the expression in parentheses. And then same thing with the other side. I write the 7 first, and then I put x plus 1 in parentheses. So now we know that we can, when I multiply, you multiply both terms by 4. And I multiply both of those terms by 7. And now it's just an equation I have to solve. So to solve this, you get your 4x on the same side, your x's. Just remember that's a negative in front of the 8, so bring that down. Then you divide by 3 to get your answer. But the main thing in the beginning there is just know how to set up that type of problem. When you cross multiply, you are distributing the number if you have to. All right, so how do we use this? We know that sides are proportional when the two polygons are similar. So angles are congruent, sides are proportional. So if they're proportional, that means that we can write a proportion with two of the corresponding sides. So one of the ratios, one of the fractions in your proportion has to include the x in it. So that's what I always start with. So I know that my corresponding sides, 5 matches up with x. So I'm going to do 5 over x equals, so we need two ratios to create a proportion. Now we just have to pick another side. So it doesn't matter like what side you pick. Like with this next, I have like two options, right? I can either do 2 over 1 or 4 over 2. I'm just going to pick 4 over 2. For all of these, like because all three sides are proportional, all three sides have the same scale factor. So that's why it doesn't matter like what the second one is if there's more than one option. So once you do that, that's how you set it up. Then you cross multiply, just like I just went over. So when you cross multiply, you would do 4 times x is 4x, 2 times 5 is 10, divide by 4, x equals 2.5. That's your answer. So the main thing though is understanding how to set up the proportion. So let's just go over a couple more like that. So again, I like to start with the x. And when I write my fraction, I typically just go left to right. So it doesn't matter if x is in the top of the fraction or the bottom of the fraction, but you have to start with the same triangle each time when you're writing your fraction. So 28 over x, and I'm just going to pick 24 and 6. So again, because I started with the 28 in the first fraction, the 24 has to be on the top of the second fraction because you're starting from the same fraction. So that's how you write the proportion. This one, 3 over x equals 4 over 6. Let's just do a couple more. This one, let's see, so I have 16 and x are my corresponding sides. And I have a lot of options, so I just need one of them. Let's see, I don't know, I'm going to pick 20 and 15. So just pick another matching side, and that's going to be your other fraction. That's how you set up the proportion. This one, this time my x is on the left, so I'm going to write x on the top. X over 24 equals, I just need to pick another side, 25 over 40. So it doesn't matter if x is on the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter if, but just make sure that you're matching up your corresponding sides. So this time, 33 matches up with x. I'm going to do 33 over x. Then I need to pick another side. I'm just going to pick 20 and 12. 20 over 12. So because I started with the 33 in the first fraction, I need to start with the 20 in the second fraction because they're on the same figure. So that is how you set up proportions to solve for missing sides in similar figures. And then to solve the proportion, you cross multiply and divide to solve for x.